A few weeks later, he came back to me. You're a good dancer. Why don't you teach them? He showed me a flyer for a dance competition that was to be held among the semilleros. Semilleros means seedbed and was the name given to children involved in peace groups like Betos that had sprung up in different parts of the city. I can't do that, I told him. Sure you can. We arranged to meet the kids in the church hall. Of course, they knew me or had heard about me, and right away I could see that they were afraid. Everything about me, the clothes I wore, my hair, the way I spoke, and the way I talked, everything I said that I was, everything said that I was from the other side. They clustered around Beto, as if hoping he would save them. Don't worry, Beto told me. Just start. I put some music on the boombox and began moving around the floor. Come on, guys. I said, let's have some fun. Let's dance. I was laughing at myself and the whole crazy scene in the church hall. In that church hall, the kids were watching and gradually moved away from Beto. They started laughing with me and moving with the music. Soon, we were all on the floor together. It was a Saturday in the middle of the day. I wasn't stoned. I was dancing with a bunch of 8 and 9-year-olds, teaching them my favorite moves. I really liked it. I chose an old Michael Jackson track, Bad, and choreographed a routine that showed two gangs who became friends through the music. Instead of confronting each other with weapons, they competed with their dance styles. The kids practiced hard and the whole routine turned out really well. We went down to the competition and we won. After the success of that routine, I got the idea of trying it out for real, to have a dance-off between the Mexicans and the gang from La Libertad. The Mexicans agreed, so with the help of another friend, I wrote a letter to the La Libertad gang, inviting them to a dance competition. The letter was delivered by a neutral kid who lived between the two communities. To show they accepted the challenge, someone from La Libertad fired 4 gunshots into the air. The dance-off was held on the football field of the Mexicans. The field was one of the only flat places of land we had in our community. From there, you could see across the crowded comunas of Miraflores, Catalina, and Pablo Escobar, named after the drug lord. Catalonia and Pablo Escobar, named after the drug lord. Escobar had given out about 400 houses, health centers, and schools, so that the comuna, to the comuna. Among a lot of people, he was a popular guy. He was eventually shot in a police raid. At the time of the dance-off, I was 14 years old. When the guys and girls from the Libertad walked onto our field, the atmosphere was tense. I was scared of my mind. We watched them stroll over, the guys with the swaggering walk, their hands deep in their pockets. It was hard to tell what was going to happen, but the guys from the Mexicans stepped forward to greet them, and they all hit high fives. One of the Libertad guys said, "Okay, let's get down." The huge sound system kicked in and hip-hop blasted out over the field. They must have been able to hear us all the way to the center of Medellin. There was a military base nearby and some of the soldiers came out to watch. Maybe that is why there was no trouble that day. A 17-year-old kid from La Libertad won the competition and nobody argued about it. We all agreed he was the best dancer. I didn't have any hope that the dance-off would make permanent peace between the gangs. But I thought it was a start. Within 2 weeks, it was clear we hadn't started anything. Some of the Mexicans murdered the 12-year-old brother of one of the Libertad gang members. They dragged the boy off a bus, tortured him, killed him, and after that, open war was declared. By the time it was over, nearly all the Mexicans were dead. With that, I stopped believing that the peace movement could do anything. I went to some of the meetings, but I was easily bored. Sometimes easily, sometimes I fooled around pretending my hand was a gun, pretending to shoot people with it because something stupid like that could really upset them. It made me laugh, but Beto got annoyed. He said I had to make up my mind. Either I was in the peace movement or out of it. Fine, I told him, so I'm out. I started hanging out with some rougher friends and doing drugs again. Sometimes I'd borrow a bicycle, take off on it, and not come back after for a couple of days. My mother whipped me. Then I'd fight her and fight my stepfather. It went on for maybe a year. I was miserable and afraid. One day, my mother beat me so hard she almost broke my arm. She was screaming at me, and I was screaming back. I was in so much pain I didn't care anymore. Not about her or me or anything. I went into the kitchen and grabbed a bottle of something. I can't even remember what it was. I was crying and cursing, trying to open this bottle with my arm hurting so much. Finally, I got the top and took a gulp. I took the top off and took a gulp. It was acid or bleach or something, but I didn't swallow much of it. As soon as it touched my mouth, I screamed. My lips and tongue swelled up. My whole face expanded. My windpipe felt like it was closing up. I don't remember much about what happened next, but my mother took me to the hospital and they admitted me. They took care of my face, my mouth, and my arm, and they tried to persuade me to denounce my mother. I didn't. I felt too exhausted and too alone. After she dropped me off at the hospital, my mother never visited me, and neither did my stepfather. None of my friends came to see me either, except Beto. He came nearly every day and told me how things were going in the children's movement for peace. He made me smile. Even those words, the children's movement for peace, helped me. They described a whole different world. When I got out of the hospital, I stopped using drugs and went back into the peace movement. Beto was only 14, but he was running child's right clubs in several elementary schools. I went along with him, but I didn't feel comfortable working with such young kids. I wanted to work with young people like myself who were at risk of getting mixed up in gang violence. I started going to workshops to learn more about the peace movement and realized that my experience of surviving family violence, gangs, and drugs, and even my small efforts to make peace were valuable. I even spoke at big meetings in front of hundreds of other younger people. John Fernando, a lecturer from the university, was the coordinator of the Children's Peace Movement in Medellin. He asked a lot of questions about my situation. I didn't like it at first. I wasn't used to depending on anyone. I hadn't ever met an adult that I could trust. But John Fernando kept trying and arranged for me to move into a special institution for girls at risk. The institution was run by nuns and was very strict. It was hard for me to adjust to all their rules. I always spoke my mind, and the nuns complained that this caused trouble among the other girls. After a while, they suggested I should go home. They promised to call me back, but they never did. In February 2000, I went to Holland to represent the children's movement for peace. It was like a dream to be in a place like that. We stayed in a good hotel, and we ate good food. Everywhere we went, there were journalists, photographers, and television cameras. People kept telling us how great we were, because we were young people living in the middle of the violence and trying to make peace. I went to Holland with Juan Elias, who was a real front runner of the children's movement, like Beto. He had been in it from the beginning and kept working for peace, even after his father was assassinated. He was a very middle class kid, but He was a good friend to me. He didn't care that I came from the comunas.